I'm Kathy Turiano, one of the owners of Joe Bean Coffee.
I'm Dena Jones, also an owner of Joe Bean Coffee.
Today, we're just going to talk a little bit about what it means for both of us to be women business owners. I know you and I both agree on this, Dena. I think it's really about being passionate about what we wanted to do as a business and really staying focused on that particular passion.
And having something that you cared about and had a heart for. That's also a challenge in being a woman in business, because your heart can get broken, it can get hurt. But I found for me personally, having a career and being a woman in business, that that's your heart and your passion for what you do is what keeps you moving. It's what keeps you going in business, because there's so many things that hit us along the way that if we don't have a heart or passion for it,
I think we would have been done a long time ago. Exactly. Yeah. And I think, not just being passionate about it, but understanding that what we're doing really makes a difference. And I think that was, you and I both really connected on that, and, wanting to be involved in something that was local and global on the same time. So I think for us, being a part of our customers' daily life and educating them and talking to them about how to make better coffee and, how to bring better coffee into their homes. And then also connecting them with all the farmers that we work with, which we know is making a huge difference in their lives. I think valuing people, I think that's always been the core of our business, is putting people in the middle of it and really valuing, our customers, and also valuing the farmers that we work with, and then connecting them together. One of my favorite experiences was when we brought one of our farmers here to our roastery, and it was like an old friend. Our customers really wanted to meet him, and they already knew him. They understood his story, and they talked to him like an old friend. And that was just one of my absolute favorite moments here at the roastery. It's funny, I think some of the barriers when it comes to being a woman in business, a lot of them for me have been sort of self-imposed. It's not that we haven't run into issues. Coffee roasting does tend to be more of a male-dominated industry. And, certainly there's many times that we've been the only women, at the table, or the only women at the event or the conference. But I think, for me internally, sometimes being the only woman has sort of held me back from giving everything that I know that I have to give. And, really having to step over that and recognize that I am at the table for a purpose and for a reason, and therefore I can bring all that I am to that event or to that moment.
Agreed. I think for me, it's very similar, and remembering that I have value and I have things of worth to contribute, and being in an industry that, like you said, is very male-dominated. When we started on our roasting journey 15 years ago, I traveled to Florida to learn about roasting, and I was the only woman in the room. Pregnant woman, actually, in the room. And it's changed since then, 15 years ago, as we're seeing all of these women farmers even have a seat at the table. But it's still very male-dominated, and sometimes it is hard to see our worth and think we do have something to bring to the table. I still occasionally am treated differently, even by customers, because I'm a woman, and it is what it is. And I think that's been a barrier that I've had to overcome, is recognizing that, but still believing that I have value to bring to the table.
Well, and we're talking about the table a lot, Dena, and sometimes I think we're intimidated to be at the table, and so I think in the past we've just built our own table. So we'll just build our own and invite who we want to the table, right? And that's worked really well.
I like our table.
Anybody in business who has been in business for a little while, there really truly is a long list of mistakes that you've made. And I think, in particular for us, we kind of dove into coffee with more heart than knowledge at first. And so I think it took us a little while to understand the industry and to really understand our place in the industry, and how to be competitive. We had a lot of heart and a lot of passion, a lot of vision. We had to learn how to become competitive. I think that was a real learning curve. But as far as what we've learned from it, I think I've learned to really value failure. I used to always think that failure was kind of the end of the matter. And I've come to recognize that it actually is the beginning. There's a saying that I know you and I say a lot, that the valley of trouble is actually the door to hope. And I think that's really been true of us over and over and over again, that we've really seen that when troubles have come and when failures have come, there's always a door that opens up for us. And we recognize that it's a new chance.
Failure to me is growth. You can't move forward unless you learn from your mistakes. So you have to make mistakes.
Right. You and I have the long list of, what we'll never do again, right?
Yes.
We have yes. And I think we really remember those things, honestly, more than we remember sometimes the triumphs. I think those what we'll never do again really does stick with you, and changes how you move forward. So, and I also think, Dena, it's really helped us redefine our language. I realize even recently, I sometimes would define myself in terms of what I've failed at, rather than what I've overcome. And I think that's just a really different dialogue, that, failure enables you to say, I have overcome and I have moved on, not I have failed.
I think as women, sometimes we have to prove something. We have to prove that we can do something, we can do it on our own.
Right.
And we can be successful doing something on our own. And I think that we need people, and there's nothing wrong in needing other people and other women to come along and support and to help, because one of the things I've just in working with you that I've learned is that we think alike. Right. We have a very similar mind, but we have very different giftings.
Right.
And we both bring something different to the table. And I feel like we are so much stronger as a company because of that. And I think it's okay for women to work alone, but I think that women need a support system.
I totally agree with you, Dena. I was going to go the same place. I think that as women, we do tend to isolate, especially as women business owners. I guess that's, what we talk as women business owners. So that's what we know the most. And I do think there is this mentality of just hunker down and get it done, and kind of being an island, and just kudos to Rochester. In the last, I would say probably 5 to 10 years, Rochester has really risen up, and there's a number of organizations I appreciate, so much, that have connected women as business owners together to encourage one another. And I think that's super valuable, because we do tend to, you go from work to home to, back and forth, and you don't reach out. and you feel very alone and very isolated. I'm actually always grateful that, you and I are business partners. And that we have had each other for, 17 years. I guess when we're talking about having women, and in leadership, one of the big benefits is relationship, and just being very aware of interpersonal issues, that element of understanding even where your team is at, where your employees are at, where your customers, and empathy for what they're feeling or what they're thinking. And I know many times, there's 3 of us that are partners, and my son is one of the partners, and he tends to look at things through a very different lens than I think you and I do, which we need all 3 of those, ways to look at things, but we're always much more on the relational end of looking at matters.
What advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders? I think this all might sound a little cliche, but I think it's kind of true. Believe in yourself. I mean, when we started Joe Bean, I was 25. I don't think I thought very much of myself and what I could do. And I think believing that you can do things will actually help you do things, and it will help you move forward.
I was going to say, don't lose heart. And I think that, you alluded to earlier talking about, our hearts. And I really think that as women, our heart is our superpower when it comes to being in business. And it's what makes us so good at being passionate about what we do, and so engaged with the people that we work with. But it's also the place that we get hit a lot, because when you do put your whole heart, into the people that you work with and into the business that you own, it inevitably is going to get damaged. And I think early on in business, I remember, we were one of the first third wave coffee shops within our city, and bringing pour overs and sort of a whole new way of looking at coffee to our city. Some people loved it and some people didn't love it, and some of the people that didn't love it weren't always kind about how they didn't love it. And I think a lot of that went in for me personally in the beginning, and it was hard to have criticism. But I think over the years I've really learned how to allow some things into my heart and some things not, and to really distinguish between who is allowed to speak directly into my heart and who's not.
And learn to discern, or at least I've learned to discern the things I do need to shut down. And
Right.
somebody can put something out there, and that's fine. They can put it out there.
That's right.
But it just doesn't go past my barrier inside.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the other pieces of advice I would probably give women leaders is to really make sure that you surround yourself with the next generation. And I think it has been what keeps my ideas constantly being sort of renewed and refreshed, and what has allowed me to continue to look at things with new eyes. And I think that really is about ensuring that the next generation is in your influence.
Women that inspire us. Well, as Kathy mentioned, Kathy and I are not the same age. Kathy is the biggest mentor in my life, and we also both have a support system of other women in our life.
That's right.
And we can't do this without each other or them. Also, I know we talked a little bit about the women coffee farmers.
Absolutely.
And that is a huge inspiration.
That's
I think
right.
Especially because this is such a male-dominated industry.
Right.
And these women have been in this industry for decades.
Right.
But as far as we're concerned, and we know, they're not just now starting to emerge. I mean, we've gone to the SCA conferences, and
Right.
there have been farmers there, and none of them are women.
None of them are women. They call women in coffee kind of the invisible army, because there's so many women at Origin involved, but like you said, they're not really prominent. And I have to agree, Dena, I think their stories are some of the most inspirational stories for me and for you. I know we recently started doing a direct trade relationship with the Democratic Republic of Congo, and seeing these women come and saying, we are going to have another narrative, and that narrative is going to be positive, it's going to be family focused, and it's going to be about producing something that is good and good for our community. And just having their coffee and knowing the background of that really inspires me. It actually makes me cry too. But it really inspires me to recognize that you can even look at the narrative of your entire country and say, absolutely not. That is not going to be where we're going to go. And they change the future, the forward motion of their entire community and their country. So if they can do that, we can do things too.
That's right.
That's how I look at it, right?
That's right.
I think Dena and I, this is probably one of the first times we've actually sat down and talked about what it has really meant. We've been in business for 17 years, and you just do it. We don't really talk about what it has really meant for us as women to be business owners. And we really invite our customers to be a part of our story. We do believe that what we're doing and the way that we're working with our farmers is making a huge difference, and we invite you into that to be a part of it and to really get to know some of the places that we buy coffee from. We've been building these relationships for over 10 years, and they do feel like family for us, and we love when family meets family. So we would love for you to meet some of our farmers and enjoy their coffee as much as we do. So come visit us at our website, jobeanroasters.com, and send us a line.